Been a big round of footy, starting with a dramatic and controversial Friday night. The Swans flex their muscles and the Suns, they take another scalp. Jimmy Bartell, Mark McVeigh and Tim Watson, they make up the panel. Dyson Heppel, he's in after his big game on Friday night. Chris Scott as well, he tells us why he's not happy with the Cats' form. And Mark McVeigh talks about his 4-hour grilling with Asada. Let's get it started.
And away we go to get things started. More of the crowd and we're into it. This will be a lifter. It goes bang, looks through it and gets it. Valentine's got it. That is brilliant. He's been terrific. Not from there. This is going to be very sweet.
Oh, Morton, he made that up as he went along.
Raplet to bring them back within striking distance.
Cameron against 4 here. This will be one of the greats of all time.
Sensational.
Outstanding from Jack.
Tries to turn his man. The shot off the ground for Backledge. That is just so exciting.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Game Day. I'm Hamish McLaughlin. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've been enjoying the weekend so far. It's the bye weekend, 4 games, only 6 teams watching on. A lot to talk about. All started on Friday night. The Bombers got out of jail. The man that used to play for the Bombers, he's a favourite. He's a father of 2, Mark McVeigh. They were good on Friday night, the Bombers.
Yeah, worried for them during the week, mate. They'll be up on theft charges. They stole the 4 points, but great win for the club and celebrated big time after the siren.
They trailed by 31 points late in the third term. The Cats trailed by 32. They got the job done by just under 10 goals. Jimmy Bartell was a part of it. 3 flags and a Brownlow. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thanks for having me, mate. Yeah, we're pretty happy with our start to the year, but we're well aware that we need to play a lot better footy in the second half of the year. Chris Scott's going to join us. He's honest at the moment. Looking forward to speaking to Chris. Man with 3 flags, 4 best and fairest. A very good sire of footballers. Tim Watson, welcome to you.
Thanks, Hannah. I saw the Sydney Swans play against Adelaide yesterday. They're on track to win another flag. In fact, they're going so well at the moment. Kurt Tippett may not fit into that side. He may be the most expensive recruit in the history of the game never to play.
In a word, as good a 4 quarters as you've seen this year?
As good as I've seen this year. They were complete because Adelaide, they came out to play yesterday, but they took everything that Adelaide had to give and they gave back a little bit with interest and then they just went about their merry way. They are a very good, well-balanced team. One
word turned into 39. Results, Friday night football, 82,000 at the MCG. The Bombers down by 5 goals. Jakey Melksham kicked the winner. Jakey Carlisle, outstanding. Dyson Heppel, brilliant. He's going to join us this morning. The Giants kicked the first 5 of the match. The Cats, though, they led at half-time, 3-quarter time. They won in the end by 59 points. In Jimmy's words, disappointing. But 9-1 is the result, and they sit equal top of the table percentage. Off top with the Hawks, the Crows. They were demoralised. The Swans were simply brilliant. 19 goals to 6 and 47-point leaders at half-time. Suns, they were just terrific. North picked the first 5 goals of the game, led by 31, but in the end, the Suns won their 5th match of the year, the 4th of the last 7 outings. Terrific. Still blue, Coleman medal, leaderboard is coming up in a minute. Cats, Hawks, Swans, Essendon, Freo. They're the sides looking most likely. The Blues, disappointing after leading by 31 points, and suddenly it gets hard for them over the next 3 weeks. West Coast Eagles play the Saints this afternoon. Melbourne have got Collingwood to complete round 11 tomorrow. Lindsay Thomas, 35 goals. Josh Kennedy plays the Twilight game this afternoon. Jeremy Cameron, he's just going so well. He's the one-man wolf pack for the Giants at the moment. Has 31-4 yesterday against the Giants. But Sydney, we've spoken about how good they were yesterday afternoon against the Crows. Their last 3 weeks, they have been simply stunning. Collingwood, that was on Friday night footy, and they just did such, or actually Saturday was it? It was Friday night footy against the Bombers, and then Twilight yesterday. They're big, big margins, Tim.
Yeah, and they're not bunny teams that they've really been putting the sword to, so they're in a really good position at the moment. No one better than Hanbury yesterday. He had 28 possessions to half-time, and the week before against Essendon, he'd been reasonably well held by Heath Hocking, but he went in search of the football very early in the piece, and they could do nothing to stop him. But it wasn't just the work of Hanbury yesterday, Jimmy. It was the fact that they were able to put so much pressure on Adelaide, all the space just dried up for Adelaide, and then they were able to then turn the ball over, and they're so good going the other way.
Yeah, as a coach, a former coach, would you, being Sando, would you put it down, we just had a bad night, or would you really, review every second of this game.
Well, I think they've got to review the game, but I don't think it was that they didn't turn up to play. I mean, sometimes sides just don't turn up to play. They're not there mentally, but they were at the beginning of this game. They were just given a football lesson. David King, the former North Melbourne champion, said a couple of weeks ago, when you play the Sydney Swans, it's like going to the accountants and having an audit, and that's exactly what happened again yesterday for Adelaide. So it's back to the drawing board for them, but you wouldn't throw everything out.
Gold Coast last night, Spike, sloppy conditions, 5 goals down, looked dead and buried at quarter time.
Yeah, really good in the wet too, and Gary Ablett was simply outstanding again, and it just highlighted why he's such a great player, and a great win for their club. And to see them now really playing some fantastic football, and oppositions now would be quite worried coming up against them. It's not an easy game. You watched Friday night footy, Jimmy?
Yeah, I did. It was a fantastic game to watch. Do you think at any stage the Bombers were going to get there? Yeah, I thought the Bombers were still a chance. Jared Waite was obviously having the game of his life in the first half, but with Essendon's flexibility with its key position players, I thought, after half-time they'd make a few changes and find the right matchup. So, as it turned out, Carlisle going forward, Hurley going back, and they, seemed to get their game going. Looking forward to speaking to Dyson about the Bombers. Headline yesterday was you on radio, Spike, to be honest, and as a result, it's the headlines today in the papers. We're going to speak to you later on in the show about what happened to you during the week. 4 hours with Asada, and it sounds like you walked out with more questions than answers. Yeah, I did a little, and look, it was some of the lining of questioning was I was a bit shocked by because simply couldn't answer it, and probably asked me about a lot of people that I've never heard of before. So yeah, you were a bit shocked, and it was intense, no doubt, and come out of it with a headache. But in the end, you just tell the truth and make sure that you get make sure you tell your truth of events. So more on Asada later. What we do every week is talk about the goal review system, Tim. Jeffy Garlett, Friday night football. It was so fast, you would have thought he had to have spilled it. Umpire makes a very quick call. Look at Dustin Fletcher, how quickly he brings the ball back in, because as soon as the ball's back in play, they can't stop it. But human error.
Yeah. It was a mistake. Yeah, it was a mistake. You go back to the review, Channel 7, obviously on Friday night we showed a number of angles, and clearly it was shown that he had actually made contact with his foot before the ball crossed the line. I mean, there's a couple of things about this. One, I think they may have been a little bit jumpy about going to the review because there was a lot of discussion about a couple of reviews from last weekend, so maybe there had been some caution about that. And the other thing was, I don't know whether Jeff Garlett actually jumped up and protested enough at the time, because that also has led to reviews, hasn't it, Jimmy, where players have actually made a bit of a song and dance about the fact that they thought the ball was touched or it hit the post or whatever. Yeah, it certainly gets the umpire's attention and gets the umpire consulting with the goal umpire, and as we've seen other games, the boundary umpire. But if there was either really smart or lucky play by Dustin Fletcher to quickly bring it back in. I think probably really smart. As soon as the ball was brought back in play, it doesn't matter how much Garlett protests. He's got to do it before the ball's brought back into play. But I think Garlett was probably stunned at his own brilliance. He's going, did I kick that goal? That was freakish. We just haven't got this right, though, yet, have we? Every week we're talking about a goal review that was either incorrect or it should have been assessed properly or differently than the way that it was. So I just wonder whether or not they just need to... I know this is in the progress of a season, we're trying to get this right, but whether or not we sit down at the end of the year and they come up with some more technology that's going to be more conclusive than some of the technology that's currently being used. Do you think they're scared about getting found out, as we saw it with cricket umpires? They don't want to be seen to be making an error, or is it the time issue, the fact that it takes a couple of minutes and everyone's just sort of standing around waiting for it? I think it's that they are going to be shown to be wrong. I reckon that most people would accept... The number one thing that we need to have is the correct decision. So if it takes a little bit of time, that's okay, as long as we end up with the right decision. But the problem is that we have all this time that elapses, and then we're not really left with a conclusive result at the completion of it, because the technology is not there to adjudicate. The irony on Friday night was the video would have sorted it, but the video wasn't called upon. So It continues to be a very touchy subject. Talking about touching and hitting and doing other things, Tim, who do you think hit harder, Scotty Thompson on Gary Ablett or Paul Gallen Wednesday night Origin? So there's the tummy tuck. Okay. Gee, this is a tough one. So there's the tummy... yeah, OK, there's the tap in the tummy. Show me the other one. Anything in it? Look, that's a line ball, that one. I'm not sure. I need to see him again, Hammer. Best guess is Paul Gallen gets 4 seasons. They gave him a medal, didn't they? Yeah, he got man of the match on the basis of his terrific aggression. They're already working on the bust. They're going to put a statue up outside the stadium somewhere for him. But it is. I guess if we need an example of how different these two codes of football are, we got it during the week.
We have a look at Scott Thompson on Gary Ablett and they applaud Paul Gallen. Anyway, time for a break. Chris Scott, he's on the other side of the break. Dyson Heppel's coming in as well. And Martin McVeigh is going to speak about the Asada grilling during the week. Stay with us.
So this young man, just 17 years of age, Chris Scott, the Bears needing a goal, and he's given them one.
Here goes Walker. He wanted Jeff to peel off, and then he said, "You Shepherd, I'll go." I think he's taken 4 bounces from 50 to the open square. One of the goals of the year from Walker. When I see you around town, you got.
So this young man, just 17 years of age, Chris Scott, vital kick. The Bears needing a goal, and he's given them one.
Number 22, Chris Scott.
It's all over! The Brisbane Lions are premiers again!
Number 22, Chris Scott. It's the end of a couple of careers. It's over for Chris Scott.
They're a very hard-running side. I obviously know them well. I expect them to come back.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the Cats prove themselves as one of the greatest teams of the modern era.
One half of the Scott brothers, two-time premiership player, premiership coach, Chris Scott. Welcome.
Thanks, Hamish.
We went through the vault, obviously found that footage, and what we did find was your first goal in football, or one of the very first, and it was kicked to you by Dion Scott, kicked by Chris Scott, called by Don Scott. Just have a listen to this.
So this young man, just 17 years of age, Chris Scott, got it from his namesake.
What impressed me is the man coming off half-back flank, and that was young Chris Scott there on screen, giving the option to Dion Scott. And being a Scot, he didn't falter under pressure.
So it was a Scottathon. And then we went back through the files and have a listen to this cricket comment. It's about the only thing that's better than the Scottathon.
Out. Lily is gone. Caught. Well, we've had it. Lily caught Willie bowled Dilly.
It's not a bad effort, is it?
No, that's good.
Football journey, we know. We just need to settle a score. Who's the best golfer at the Geelong Football Club? Because 7 of the Cats have texted in saying that you are, but there's a few. I'll give you the names. Taylor Hunt, Tommy Hawkins, Stevie J and Jackson Thurlow all saying they're worthy of the green jacket.
Yeah, OK. Yeah, well, Steve certainly is. Taylor Hunt, no way. And Jackson Thurlow apparently is a very good player, but I haven't played with him yet.
And this is the golf trip from last year, which we understand you won. So Adam Scott, Chris Scott, Brad Scott, famous sporting family. Congratulations. Yesterday, we're just going to have a look at the results quickly before we get your thoughts on the game, particularly the first quarter and how delighted you were with the way the guys went at the football. It was the Giants that kicked the first 5 goals, led by 32 points. Giants, well, they were very good. Cats by 8 at half-time, 12 at three-quarter time, 59 on the bell. Sort of shades of last week, needing a big term to settle things. Jimmy?
Yeah, we certainly got off to a really slow start. GWS were spreading really hard from the contest, getting their hands on it, and we certainly weren't winning the ball in the contest, which was making life really tough for our defenders. But full credit to GWS, they really wanted it. Scully getting on the end of a few goals and seeing up close how well Jeremy Cameron's going. He's certainly a really impressive forward, and I think he's got a lot of defenders spooked at the moment. They play in front of him, he gets them out the back, they play behind him, he's very good on the lead. But we managed to get our hands on the ball a lot more in the second quarter and fixed a lot of things up. But again, GWS kept coming at us. They're fiercely competitive, and yeah, like you said, the last quarter we managed to get over the line and have a reasonable win in the end.
What did you make of the first half, Chris?
Oh, they were very good. I think it's important to give credit to them. We know that they're a developing team and they're struggling for consistency across the whole 4 quarters. But when the heat was really on in the game, they look better than us. I think that's a fact. So, we need to look at both sides as well. I mean, we were dirty with our first quarter in particular, but they kicked the first 4 or 5 goals, I think, and I think we kicked 24-10 after that. So there are some positives in the game for us, but I think looking towards the end of the season, we need to play a lot better when the heat's on.
Well, three things I learned out of today's game. Yesterday's game, sorry. Number one, contested marking, in my opinion, is one of the most important stats. When the heat's on and you have to just dump it forward in your inside 50, you need a big target to be able to wrestle and take marks, and we saw that especially with Pods in the third quarter, kicking 4 goals. Number two, being at GWS and Gold Coast is probably the best place to get drafted to at the moment. In the words of Tom Harley, you're off Broadway and you're out of the media attention, and those clubs are putting a lot of money and a lot of effort in development, and you can just go about your footy and focus on that. And number three, the guy sitting to the left of me, Chris Scott, can deliver a great spray. Certainly very deserved. If we didn't see that coming as he's walked out, we would have been awake. But he certainly sparked us up, and I think our improvement in the next quarter was probably due to that big spray we copped.
Take the very best spray from Bomber Thompson and the very best from Chris Scott. Who wins?
I'm going to say Chris Scott because he's my coach at the moment.
Is that a badge of honour?
No, well, actually, it's a very rare occurrence for me. I think I can think of one other time where I was as animated as that, and across 3 years, virtually, I don't think that's too bad.
J-Pod was good yesterday.
Yeah, he was excellent. I think he helped us pull it out, I guess. His third quarter was huge, and look, we weren't using the ball well, and he made us look good on a number of occasions. But this one, especially where he ran down, forward pressure is just gold. It's a goal out of nothing, really.
Chris, you've got a lot of big guys to sort of rotate in and around the combination of the team. Have you, in your own mind now, sort of settled on anyone, or is a lot of those positions still up for grabs in the latter part of the year?
Oh, there certainly are positions up for grabs. I think it'd be fair to say that Tom Hawkins will be a mainstay in our team. It'd be very hard to push Mark Blitzarves out of his preferred position, which we think is the ruck at the moment. And we're extremely optimistic about what Hamish McIntosh can do when he's fully fit. Now, the question is, will he get fully fit? That's yet to be answered. But the combination of those players is what's going to be most important to us. And we don't really see the need to settle on the best combination right at the moment. We're keen to get all those guys in form across the next 10 or 11 weeks and then pick the best from there.
Chris, can I ask, when you're in a situation like yesterday where they had a run on, they'd kicked the first 5 goals of the game and you hadn't really scored, do you panic in the box, or what's the message that you try and get amongst the coaches that you're going to go down at quarter time? I know you went off a little, but what's the message you're going to try and point out to them that you should be winning the game or at least be in the contest?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because your first instinct as a coach, I think, is to try to stem the bleeding and stop them scoring a little bit. For us, we didn't really feel like we needed to do anything structurally halfway through the first quarter as opposed to what we planned before the game. So the important thing for us was to get down there and get back to what we wanted to implement at the start, and fortunately we were able to do that in the second quarter. And the other thing you need to look at, it's important to stop them scoring, but to get back in the game, you've got to score yourself. So we certainly didn't think that closing the game down completely was the way to go.
Chris, some good news for the club yesterday. That Harry Taylor is going to re-sign with the club. Is that right?
As far as I know, yeah. I'd be ecstatic if that's true. Given that our CEO Brian Cook's saying it's true, then I'd tend to believe him.
It's extraordinary about this group of players, and this has been documented in the past about how many of this Geelong group have stayed when they could have gone elsewhere. We know Gary Ablett left, but so many of them probably could have gone elsewhere for bigger paydays than what they've been able to achieve. But I don't know, there's something about what they want to stay at Geelong for and achieve as a group.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice carrot to dangle, the team's success that Geelong's been able to enjoy. The challenge for us is convincing the players that the team's success is still available to them. Our current group of senior players clearly think that it's possible, and our younger players are learning a lot from Jim. It's not too often I disagree with Jim, but I would say for a young draftee, learning from Bartel and Kelly and Selwood might even be better than going to GWS or the Gold Coast.
Shocking collision yesterday, Stevie J and Bundy.
Yeah, it was. It's actually, there have been a few near misses with Allen in particular. They do attack the ball really hard, and I think traditionally coaches would say that they don't mind two players running into each other if they're both committed to the ball. And those two are certainly committed ball players. But yeah, it's very ugly when you see players with their arm stuck up in the air like that.
It was quite, as being at the game was really sickening. I know that everyone just wanted Stevie J at the time to make a movement, and fortunate enough he did. But how are those two players today? Are they feeling okay?
Yeah, remarkably good. Even 20 minutes after the incident, they were really good. But as we all know, with concussion, every situation is a little bit different, and you need to be really careful. So fortunately, we have the bye next week, but we need to monitor those two really closely.
On that injury table, we just put up Paul Chapman's indefinite with his hamstring. What can you tell us about when... I know that says indefinite, but does that mean you're not expecting him back this year, or you just don't know when he might come good again?
Yeah, it's more he will be back. We're extremely confident of that. It's just we're not exactly sure when. He had quite a minor hamstring injury and then had a slight recurrence a week or two ago. So now we've decided we need to be really, really careful and make sure that when he's absolutely 100% with a hamstring, that we take the time to condition him and get some match fitness, probably through the VFL. So, you know, that could be anywhere between sort of 3 weeks and 8 weeks. So we're just not prepared to be definite about it.
The good news is the Cats are winning lots on the sidelines. Chris is staying with us. Dyson Heppel not so far well. We rate the goals of the year. We test Jimmy in the Scott Brothers quiz. Stay with us.
I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, down.
Chris, you had an amazing first year, but did you think you would be able to control your emotions better than the maniacs on screen, or is it an environment that is just impossible? Because you're a normal person. Other than 2 hours a week.
I'd like to think so. I'm sure Tim is a lot more comfortable doing what he's doing now. In the box, I made a decision pretty early on that I wasn't going to worry too much about the camera or wasn't going to try to control my emotions too much. The most important thing is that you're in control when you talk to the players. I may have failed that test at quarter time on the weekend, but yeah, when it's not me, I find that vision very, very amusing.
Tell me this, does it ever surprise you how much this game means to people? I was on Saturday night sitting 4th row back in the thick of the Geelong cheer squad, and it's amazing what people do to support their team, but players like family members for these guys.
Yeah, I can't imagine... I feel for you, buddy. I can't imagine anyone caring any more than we do, you know, the coaches and the players. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I am amazed because it is life and death for some people, and that puts it in perspective because, you know, when we lose, you know, it's a horrible feeling the next morning, but it's sobering to think that there are supporters out there that feel even worse than you do. That's hard to imagine.
Jimmy, the new stadium, the stadium you played with the lights must have been sensational. It looked amazing on television. How was it for you guys the first time?
Yeah, it was fantastic. There was a huge buzz actually weeks leading up to the first night game. The new stand behind the goals just looks spectacular, and it's actually good playing there instead of getting a big southerly wind coming through there, which was a big vortex. But I think the real thing with the lights is you don't notice them when you're playing, which is a great thing. It seems as natural as you can get. They don't get in your eyes, but it did create a real buzz, and it was good for the community because everyone was able to get the local football in Geelong, which is really big around the Geelong community, and then they were able to make their way down. And so I think it was great for Geelong, and you know, hopefully we get a lot more night games down there because we certainly enjoy it. Congratulations again to Frank Coster and all the team behind it. Brian Cook, amazing job. Well done. A man that doesn't get probably enough plaudits is Stephen Wells. He has brought an unbelievable group of players to your club. This is a list that Stephen Wells has got at now really cheap rates. But the second name from the bottom is the most extraordinary story of all. Yeah, and I mean, as good as Stephen has been, and he has been extraordinary, right? He's an underrated member of Geelong's success in the past decade. But Mark Blitzarves or Cameron Guthrie's dad, Andrew, should actually get the credit for Mark Blitzarves because he coached him at junior level and spoke to Stephen Wells about him. Now, Wellesley had the courage to pursue it right through to the point where he was on Geelong's list. But yeah, Andrew Guthrie, I imagine in 10 years' time we'll be forever grateful for him. We're going to show you now goals of the year so far, in no particular order, and you're in charge of choosing the goal that you like the most. Tim, you were here for this one.
That was extraordinary.
So that's goal one. This is Andrew Walker just slicing and dicing. Nothing better than a nice running goal. Sort of Boomer Harvey-esque, good finish.
He's been unbelievable form, that bloke too.
Sammy Mitchell, just a little bit of sort of showtime from the boundary. Left foot check side, how do you do? Nothing wrong with that. Russian judge gave a 10. Redden, similar, but right boot. So Mitchell probably gets it on points. Chris, you were watching on.
Oh, I haven't seen a better goal than this one. That's
almost physically impossible.
Yeah.
I was really taken watching the replay the next morning because went over my head, that ball in the fourth row. But you sort of smiled to yourself. But the thing that I liked most afterwards, you said, I've been very privileged. The one thing I really regret is not ever having been able to coach Gary.
Yeah, I'm a bit selfish, aren't I?
Yeah.
I've fallen on my feet at the Cats, but yeah, I think some people, more the supporters than the people internally, are clinging to the notion of that romantic notion of Gaz one day coming back to Geelong, and if that happens, gee, I hope I'm still the coach.
Well, we asked the Oz Kickers who right now is the coach of the year in 2013. Here's what they had to say.
Who's the best coach in the AFL?
Chris Scott. 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 Alistair Clarkson.
Thank you.
Chris Scott.
They know.
That must have been down at Geelong.
Well, they're wearing the wrong jumpers. Time for a little bit of quick hands. And this is, we have it from a reasonable source. Is it true that your brother used to run into the classrooms at St Kevin's? He was called the Jumper Bandit. Had his jumper over his head, run in, hurl all sorts of abuse, run out, and the teachers never caught him?
If it happened, it was in Year 12 when I was up in Brisbane, so I'll plead ignorance to that.
That's a yes, isn't it?
No, it's genuine ignorance.
Possible, no, Brad?
I've heard stories.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
Scotty, a lot of good football brains running around at your footy club. Who's the player at the moment that plays for your club most likely to coach?
Oh, there's a big group. I've talked about Steve Johnson a lot, but James Kelly, Jimmy would be obvious candidates, and one probably a little bit from left field. I think Josh Hunt's footy knowledge is exceptional, and he would make a very good coach.
Scotty, is it true that you and your...
He's a bit nervous, isn't he? That's good.
Yeah, I might be out when we come back. Is it true you and your brother used to drive a Toyota Celica to under-18 games called Tucky?
It was a Toyota, that's for sure. Yeah, it was a very, very old yellow car that we named Tucky because he was a very old.
Named after the great Michael.
Yes, yeah, Michael Tuck. Yeah.
If the Brisbane Lions of the 2000s, the best of them, played against the best of the Geelong side you've coached so far, who'd win?
Geelong.
You confident about that?
Yep.
No doubt in your mind?
No doubt at all. And I probably should explain a little bit more. I think the footy has moved on so far that, you know, the team that finished 14th in 2000... the team that finished 14th today would get absolutely punished. So, but Geelong's players across the board, I think, are a little bit more consistent than the Lions players.
How'd you go coaching Acca?
How would I go?
Yeah.
It would be more challenging than my current role.
Politics. Jimmy, quickly, how well do you know your coach? We're going to show you some photos, and if you get one wrong, you don't play next weekend.
We got the bye, so I'm sorted.
Okay. Left or right?
He's on the right.
Correct. He's still on the right, I think.
He's on the left.
Yep, yeah. 2 from 2.
Oh! Jeez, I knew that one was coming. Yeah, the left.
He's on the left.
He's right on the left. That's not him, is it?
Wow. Yeah, that is me, yeah.
That's you?
You sure, Chris?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It is. Thank you for coming in. Good fun season ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Still plenty to come, including Mark McVeigh talking about Asada and Dyson Heppel. Stay with us on Game Day.
You should put the good players in the centre and all the bad players in no good spots.
Is it true that when you go home to Leongatha, you ask for your parents to fill up your car?
May have been known to snag the fuel card once or twice.
When you touch my hand and talk sweet talk, I got a knocking in
money that...
Yaron 40 and closing, lines up the goals for Carlton to hit the front, he misses. Bootsman's caught, great tackle to Guan. Richmond have won the opening game.
North Melbourne in front.
And 50!
He's put it through. One last chance for North. So I've never seen anything like it before.
Handball to Main. He hits the post.
They've got it, Juan. Listen to the siren. Black blistering speed, he should score. He's kicked the goal. Sense of deja vu after that Bombers game. Ballantyne. Ballantyne gets his fourth. Where's Vickery? He's blue. Ball loose at the back. Siren.
If you didn't believe before, you've got to believe now.
Flash point, full forward, and Hawthorn hang on.
Sends it long down towards full forward. McNui. Oh, McNui held all week. And he's put it through. Eagles win.
But he must score from the 50. Gives it a long ball. It might not have the distance. Reed! It's a draw.
Kicks to full forward. Anything can happen here. Here we go. It's a goal. Can you believe it? It's extraordinary.
Some of the exhilarating finishes of 2013, and if you're a North Melbourne fan, too much North Melbourne in that footage. Yesterday there was never ever going to be a close finish. Adelaide versus Sydney. Adelaide, a few inside 50s early, looked like they were about the place, but then all Swans, just a remarkable performance. And considering that Jetta, Reid, LRT and perhaps Kurt Tippett to come back into this side, Tim, it is just an extraordinary outfit. 18 points lead at quarter time, 47 at half time, in the end 77 to the Swans.
And Reece Shaw's another player that can come back in, and he was such an important player across half-back for them. But Adelaide, look, they got off to an OK start. There's Callan kicking a goal, come back into the team, and their effort was there. There was no question about that, but they just couldn't score against this miserly defence and the way that they structure themselves up. You see Bolton there. Everybody does their job at the right time with the Sydney Swans. Dangerfield always looked like the most likely player for Adelaide, whether he was in the midfield or going forward, but obviously they didn't have enough of them. Jess White just rubbed salt into the wound of Adelaide losing their two forwards, Walker obviously and Tippett, who's gone to the Sydney Swans. He was very good early, and there's Tommy Mitchell, who I'll speak about in a little bit more detail. This bloke, Morton, had a couple of set shots and wasn't able to get the job done and decided to actually just make it a little bit more difficult for himself, although some AFL players would say that means it's a lot easier for yourself. But they just had all the answers, the Sydney Swans. Every time Adelaide looked like they were going to mount a challenge in some way, they were able to be shut down. The three things I learned about this game was that Sydney are well on track to win back-to-back flags. No question about that. The other thing I learned is that their defence is the best in the competition. When I say that, it's the best at defending once the ball gets into the opposition's attacking 50. It is so hard to score once you get there, and that is that Tommy Mitchell is going to be a gun. This kid can really play, had 31 possessions yesterday, and Spike, you know a fair bit about this kid, given he's been up and around the mark there for a couple of years at Sydney, and how highly they think of him. Yeah, he's come straight into the club, and he's one of those players as a young player they haven't had to talk too much, and I mean that by he's come in, he does everything right, very professional. You reckon he's really clean, and his hardness has really stood out. So real professional player for such a young player coming into his first year, or into his first game, sorry, and he's been sensational for him.
So I was wondering if you'd touch on some of the names that probably people in Melbourne don't really know much about, but they were goal kickers like White and Mitchell and these sort of types.
Well, that's the thing that I touched on before about they just do what they're supposed to do, Jimmy, and that's what great teams do. They come in, it's almost they've got these great interchangeable parts. They lose a bloke, another bloke comes in, he does his job. He doesn't do anything more than what is required of him. But the other thing, yesterday the forward line actually had a lot of opportunities because of the way they were turning the ball over and then how good they were at rebounding.
I think the Swans are a lot better this year because of their midfielders, and they've been kicking a lot of goals, haven't they? They've been outstanding all year.
Yeah, and they work hard too. I mean, if they have to work on an opponent, they'll work on an opponent, and then as soon as the ball breaks, they'll spread as hard as any side to that space. And they seem to do the right thing at the right time. They lower their eyes when they're supposed to lower their eyes, and they take the game on when they're supposed to take the game on. But even Bolton, you would have thought maybe 18 months ago this bloke was just about washed up, but he's still playing a really valuable role for them.
17 goals.
Remarkable.
He's having just a remarkable season. I mean, Tim, when watching them yesterday, it was like they're down by about 5 or 6 points with a minute to go, but it was for 2 hours.
Yeah,
That's how they play.
Yeah, I haven't seen that level of football across 4 quarters that I saw from them yesterday. I've seen other sides play in spurts over the course of the year, Hawthorn and Geelong and Fremantle, and Collingwood at different times too. But I haven't seen that sustained 4-quarter effort that I saw from the Sydney Swans yesterday.
Only downside was Mummy's cheekbone. Jared Petrenko clash.
Yeah.
But they've got some tools, perhaps, waiting in the wings that can fill the void. As we said, Kurt Tippett's available from next week.
That's right. And, gee, what an option that is to have Kurt Tippett back into that side. And you got Mummy there, and he's a big, powerful brute of a ruckman. And I guess, that's one of the unanswered questions here, though. When they're all available, when Kurt Tippett, because he plays that second ruck role, will they then play Mumford? Will they play Pike and Tippett all in the same side? Because they do start to look a little bit top-heavy.
You've got Reid as well.
And Reid to come back as well, yeah.
An honourable mention, Johnny Longmire had 3 jacks yesterday. Gary, Kieran and Brandon, who debuted yesterday. He was a sub, came on the last term.
You don't see that many at a bowling tournament, do you?
And I see very few in a poker hand. Marty Mattner, congratulations on a wonderful career. He was very good for Adelaide for a very long time. He played 98 for the Crows. He's a premiership player now for the Swans. And Richie Beno would be very, very proud. He retired with 222 games to his name, and he was a key part of the back 6, Jimmy, for the Swans.
Yeah, one of the toughest blokes to play on because of his height. He could defend taller players who were good overhead, but he actually had exceptional agility, speed, so he could play on the smaller blokes. And as Tim stated before, just played his role absolutely perfectly, and underrated how damaging he was with that left foot coming off the half-back line.
So well done to Brandon Jack on debut, well done to Marty Mattner on retirement. Dyson Heppel still to come. Simon says the season review. But right now it's around 11. Nickabate Scrap.
Nice play, Cameron.
Left foot, left
That's
foot.
a good kick. That'll work. That'll roll.
Left foot.
That's a gem.
It's just moved on. Got a big mark.
Jesse tries to make the footy his own, breaks away from Smith, digs deep just to get boot to ball. What a goal from White.
He's towards a dangerous situation and a dangerous guy. White's got 6.
Rusty Betson. Oh! Ryder!
Onto the boot. Oh, Morton. He made that up as he went along.
Third man of the queue is Carlisle. Breaks free, kicked some goals last week, kicks one right now.
So we're about halfway through the home and away rounds. So let's ask the experts exactly where we're at. The mid-season review. Has there been any good things that you can remember?
Yes, it was last year when Tom Hawkins kicked the goal from 50.
Do you think you can win the premiership? You kicked the goal after the siren to beat Hawthorn. Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
Good.
Well, it's not if you barrack for Hawthorn, mate. Who do you barrack for again?
Collingwood, and they've got a very, very little chance of winning the grand final.
Which players do you think should have a week off in the AFL? Who's been flying?
Clark should.
Have a week off?
Yeah.
What reason?
Because he's always getting marks and kicking goals.
Tell me who's going to play off in the grand final so far.
Hawthorn and Collingwood.
Simon Marshall just getting good feel for what's happening out on the hustings. Gold Coast versus North Melbourne last night. It was raining pre-game and it really didn't stop North Melbourne. They stopped though. They kicked 4 goals to zip in the first term. They kicked the first of the second term. They got out to 31 points. Then they stopped. Gold Coast kicked the next 7 of the match. In the end, it was the Suns. Gary Ablett, 33 touches, 2 goals, 3. He's just extraordinary. And the 5th win of the year for the Suns, 4th of 7 games. They are on the march. Spike?
Yeah, they're going really well, and certainly it was a big game for North Melbourne, who we know have lost a few close games, came off a big win last week, and started off really, really well. And the Gold Coast really struggled in the first quarter. Wet weather conditions made it tough for all players, but some of those great snaps over their shoulders for some of their key players. Lindsay Thomas kicked 1, which he continues his great form in his goal kicking. But the Suns rallied and got back in the game. And it was a low-scoring affair at half-time. Not many goals were kicked and they were hard-fought, and a lot of players, as we can see, are getting a lot of crumb goals, and that's what you get when you get the wet conditions. So certainly a great mark there in wet conditions with a lot of pressure on, and they were able to get in front and really defend really well. Gary Ablett was simply outstanding. He kicks one of his goals absolutely sensational in those type of conditions. Really clean under pressure, and also he was a fantastic leader for the footy club. So they just kept coming, the Gold Coast Suns, and it was a great win for their footy club. They were really excited after the game, and they were just terrific. But three things I learnt. Finals for the Suns is not out of the question in the next few years. They look like a team that's really going really well. It's not bad to say that you lost to the Suns anymore. So they're a quality side, and you have to be on your game. You can't be off it. And Gary Ablett is as good in the wet as he is in the dry. He is simply outstanding.
Jimmy, is he as good a wet weather footballer as you've seen?
Yeah, he's, like Spike was saying there, he's good all the time. But the fact is that the quality players just seem to stand out even more, and his hands are so good and he's so balanced. And you find him wet weather nights, everyone going to ground, he keeps his feet, just make sure he gets clean possession, then he does his magic.
Trent McKenzie seemed to be tough to get past at halfback. He had a lot of the football last night, and he's sort of building from halfback and setting a lot of the stuff up for the Suns.
Yeah, he's fantastic, well built, and took some nice grabs, and he's got that nice left foot, makes the right decision on a lot of occasions, backs back like there and takes nice marks. So he's a player that can really steady for them for the future.
Once they made the adjustment last night at the Gold Coast and they stopped trying to play dry weather football and chip the ball across the ground and open up space and all that sort of stuff, and they recognised the conditions were about going straight down and getting there as quick as they could, the game just turned on its head.
Charlie Dixon's another guy that has sort of got better as he's had more of the football. Injured last night, which was disappointing. Got through the beard and to the head.
Yeah, it's disappointing for them, and he's a quality player, and he's getting bigger each year. You can see that he's really muscled up, and he's a real key for them up forward. So when they put it out in front of him, he's very hard to stop. He's got really strong hands, and he's a player that those two players we spoke, McKenzie and himself, they're going to be terrific for them for their spine for the next few years.
Do you think part of their improvement is the fact that they all seem to be a little bit more settled? Like we see McKenzie's now half back, and they've got a settled back six. That's like allowing them to just play their position. Whereas the first 2 years they were trying to find out who plays where and where they're best suited.
Yeah, I think so, and they're a little bit older than what they were last year. So, but they've really grown together. I think one of the keys is they're defending the whole ground as well. So they're not just an attacking team anymore. They defend the outlets. They make sure that the ball doesn't come out so easily, and when it gets into their forward 50, they make it very hard for it to come out.
In those soupy conditions last night too, it's not hard to get disorientated out there on the footy field like we saw Cunnington get disorientated there, and Harry is kicking the ball the wrong way.
And what we've put together, Tim, on that basis is the exclusive players in the Wrong Way Club.
Is there a Wrong Way Club, is it?
Well, we've made one this morning, and we feel as though this is Jamie McNamara for the Eagles, Riscatelli, terrific clearance for the Dogs, but Roden's goal makes him an All-Australian Wrong Way man and captain of the club. Have a look at this.
It's actually a great goal, even though he's going the wrong way.
Have a look at Brad Johnson's reaction here.
Time for a break. Dyson Heppel, he's sitting on the couch. He's going to join us in just a minute. Spike McVeigh, he's going to talk about the week that he's had with Asada. But Dyson, Friday night, he was brilliant. So are the Bombers.
Turns around, Howell at bounce, through the middle. Melcham through midfield, he goes long, Bacon goals quick, and he's kicked the goal.
Oh, Ryder!
Carlisle props in front, almost had it, got out at the back. Comer open goal, and the Bombers are right in this. They're in this up to their hairline. Third man in the queue is Carlisle, breaks free, kicked some goals last week, kicks one right now. Nobody near him, only the Seagulls. Myers running in, kicks the goal, scores a level.
Carlisle's just dominating this match. They're in front now. Carlisle to Melcham, bang! So does he kick 3 goals for the first time in his career and put them in front? He does. Wow, so this is the last roll.
Oh!
Cranberry, wait for it.
It looked highly unlikely in the third term. The Bombers got home in the end. The big man for the Bombers on Friday night was Dyson Heppel. Welcome, Dice.
Good on you, Hamish. Thank you. Hey, boys.
Did at any stage you think you were out of the game?
Honestly, I did. Yep. When I think we're about 5 goals down. Might have been in the second term, I reckon. And, you know, we were playing terribly. We were playing poor footy and I was rapt to be able to resurrect that, yeah.
We, before we go on, need to just basically tip our hats to your first few years. You've missed 3 games only since you started. You've had 1 haircut and washed your hair twice. But what an extraordinary run it's been. You've come run-up in the best and fairest. You've won the Rising Star and you've just been averaging 25 at the highest level. Could you imagine sliding in and fitting in so easily?
Oh, well, I guess it has been an amazing 3 years. I guess, you know, I've absolutely loved my time down at the club and Essendon have been fantastic for myself and I guess my family as well, been really good. So, you know, I'm loving my footy at the moment. You know, the bond that we've formed with the group that's there at the moment has been fantastic and, yeah, we're hoping to go further into finals as we continue, yeah.
Well, Friday night it was an important win, it was a big win, it was an unlikely win. It was a 31-point deficit that the Bombers had to overcome. That was in the third term, 20 in the last term. Jared Waite was on fire, 14 marks, 7 goals, 1 from 15 kicks. But it was 8 goals to 4 in the last half, Tim, that saw the Bombers get home by 5.
That's right, it was a big game. Over 80,000 people at the MCG on Friday night. The Bombers got off to a reasonable start. And there's Michael Hurley, who started in the forward line later to go back into the defensive player, Jared Waite. And this bloke was a real thorn in Essendon's side. They played 3 players on him. He kicked 7 goals for the night, and he was just outstanding. I don't think I've ever seen him play like that before. Murphy had a really interesting night. Heath Hocking went to him, but he was still able to find plenty of the ball throughout the course of the night. Eddie Betts hadn't played for the last few weeks. He looked a little bit rusty. There's a goal he kicked, and an important goal it was as well. And Melksham, who kicked 3 goals for the Bombers for the night, one that actually got them up and to win the game. Casbolt, I thought, was really good too. Pushed up high, had 10 marks for the night, provided a target. And then this bloke, this was the move of the night. He had lowered his colours at one end of the ground to Jared Waite, went to the other end of the ground and then became the star player for the night. And this is the goal that got the Bombers over the line. Pressure kick there for Jakey Melksham, who I spoke to after the game and said he couldn't even feel his legs before he actually took that kick. So it was a big kick for him. The 3 things I learned from that night is that Joe Danaher playing his first game. There's been a lot of excitement about this kid since he arrived at Essendon, obviously one of the Danaher clan, and he's going to be a 200-game player. Just puts a little bit more meat on his bone and gets a little bit more strength, but he knows how to play the caper. Jake Carlisle, this is going to be an interesting conundrum for the Bombers now, whether or not they play him forward or they play him back. I think there'll be a combination between him and Hurley at either end of the ground. And then Jared Waite, on what we saw the other night, he is an elite forward of the competition. He hasn't really had a great run at it, Jared Waite. We've seen glimpses of his best. He's had injury, he's had suspension. That's interrupted his career, but he was just absolutely outstanding on Friday night at the MCG.
He's missed 3.5 full seasons with injury and suspension and form.
Yep, and look, they've been desperate to have him back into the side. We know how talented their small forwards are. Yaron, it was... I thought it was a little bit unusual that they started Yaron on the bench on Friday night, Jimmy, and, you know, and the use of the sub is interesting too with clubs. They elected to bring him on at 3/4 time. A lot of sides bring them on about midway through the third term.
Yeah, it's interesting still. I think sides are working out how to best use their sub. Like you're saying, some sides don't use it unless they have to, or, you know, all right, we might as well pull the trigger on it and play them in the last quarter. Other sides almost straight after half time. But you'd think someone with Yaron's skill and speed would have been, you know, injected into the game a little bit earlier, but we're not to know with Carlton's decision there.
Yeah.
2 parts to the Jake Carlisle move, Tim and Dyson. Somebody's got to actually think it can work and make the move. Then Jake's got to perform, and he did. In that second half, he was getting towed up by Jared. 5 goals, I think, kicked on him.
Yeah.
He was the match winner in there.
That's right. It's an adjustment too, isn't it, Dyson? You know, from one end of the ground to the other, and you know, you can lose your confidence out there too very easily.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, that shows, you know, great resilience from Jake. He's become an amazing player. Yeah.
We had a look at this photo that was taken by Wayne Ludby, and we thought, a terrific grab, match-saving grab, and then we realised there is a launching pad in that part of the MCG. Have a look at this. What's it called? The trampoline.
The trampoline.
Jimmy's dubbed it the trampoline head. These are some of the marks that have been taken in the same spot. Leo Barry just to win a grand final, and then this is Sampi to take mark of the year. Gets a couple of rides, and then who is that?
Yes.
Is that you, Spike?
Yes. Can't even remember that.
There's something about that pocket.
Yeah, some of those grabs are terrific, and we know how important, well, one of them was with Leo Barry, who was, what a mark that was, and still we talk about it to this day. But Jakey Carlisle, he's a fantastic player, and I like him forward, and I prefer Michael Hurley at centre-half back. That's just my opinion. I think he's a competitor, he's aggressive, and when he gets a chance to kill the ball, he really kills it and puts it over the boundary.
So Carlisle's grab was enormous on Friday night, and James Hird's grab on Dyson Heppel was just as good.
Because his year in the midfield has been outstanding. I thought his game was as good as I've seen him play around the contest. Just kept putting himself in. If he didn't get the clearance, he went back in for the ball. And his repeat stoppage work is becoming very good.
How are you hitting him, Dice?
I'm going all right, thanks, dude. No, hitting them very poorly at the moment, to be honest, with the sticks.
We're sort of focusing on football, I think.
Well, we are.
I
didn't know where you were going
No,
there.
but I mean, are you as confident as you've ever been on a football field?
What's that? Sorry, say again.
How's your hair?
You frazzled me, mate.
No. On the football field, are you feeling as confident as you ever have?
Yeah, I guess, you know, I spent a lot of time with the midfield group over the pre-season. Simon Goodwin's been fantastic for my development, and I guess I have become a lot more confident, especially playing in the midfield at the moment. Yeah.
Dyson, we finally saw Joe Danaher play on Friday night. You've seen him during the pre-season. He's been banging the door down to get selected.
Yep.
What impresses you most about him as a young kid?
Yeah, Joey's a ripper. He's, you know, his personality and the way his enthusiasm is around the club is outstanding, but his football ability is amazing. You know, his presence on the field, he's a big boy, can take a big grab, and the way he's come into the club and the way he's trained, his professionalism has been a real, I guess, highlight for me watching him come through. So, no, he's a great kid.
Bomber Thompson can get very aggressive, Jimmy, at three-quarter time. What do you think you would have been saying with the coach?
Bomber probably used to say to us, come on, keep it simple. We've got to win the ball, win our contest, you know, beat your man. You know, just take the game on. I think that was the beauty of Bomber. He can make the real complex, and while everything's spinning around 100 miles an hour, he can simplify the game for players and give them a clear goal.
Courtney Dempsey, I think the Bombers missed him on Friday night. He was certainly a player that gives a lot of run from half-back, and he used it really well. How's he tracking with his injury? Yeah,
Dempsey's coming along all right. You know, obviously a very bad loss for us. Dempsey's certainly a massive key to our side, I reckon. As you said, with that run and drive off half-back, his ball use is outstanding. But Dempsey's coming along all right, and you know, we were all wrapped that it wasn't as serious as what we thought it may have been. So. Yeah, here we are.
Sorry to frazzle you before.
You're right, mate. Yeah, you got me.
Time for a break. Steve-O tells us about the black hole at the Saints, and Mark McVeigh talks about his week with Asada. Stay with us.
Goes for the short pass into the pocket. It's effective. Long ball plays on. Confidence, if you don't mind, he's kicked his seventh.
Finds Allen. He had Heppel out wide. He realised it. Good call, Heppel on the left from 55. He's got some shoe on it. It's long. It's there.
The Blues attacking 50. Heppel is there, puts the tackle on.
Oh, McVeigh from the Kennedy handball. Oh, Heppel.
That is magnificent.
From Heppel.
What a transformation. Watson dancing out of the pack, trying to set it up for Heppel. And Heppel kicks the goal. Oh, brilliant.
Welcome back to Game Day. Lucky to have Dyson Heppel with us this morning. A few weeks ago against the GWS, you played your 50th, and as a result, we had the Hep Pals come out. They had plenty of wigs. As we see that, just tell me, what's your favourite moment so far in the AFL journey?
Oh, yeah, it's a big call. Favourite moment? I think our win probably on Anzac Day was very special. Just the whole occasion, and being able to beat Collingwood. That was the first time I'd beaten the Pies as well, so that was pretty exciting. But I think Anzac Day was a massive occasion.
Did you ever think you'd have kids with Dyson Heppel wigs on before a game?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I walked out of the race, up the race, and these kids are running around with these things on, and didn't know what was happening, but no, it was, yeah.
That's actually all hurt his kids there.
So you didn't know that was happening?
No, it was quite funny.
And Doc Larkins was wearing one throughout the game, which is not so bad. Tell me, bye coming up for you guys, what happens?
Yeah, we'll get a few days off on our bye weekend, so I think we're getting from Monday through till about Thursday, so we'll head away for a few days and refresh, yeah.
No bye for you, Steve-O?
It's full on, isn't it, Hammer? And just interested in obviously the INSADA investigation and Mark McVeigh. You made the news today. I mean, a couple of months ago, Spike, you were very bullish about what was happening. Now you seem to be fearful. What's changed?
Not a lot's changed in terms of I still strongly think that I didn't receive anything illegal, or none of the players did. It was just that the line of questioning that I was asked of was quite surprising and shocking, and I spoke about a little bit earlier about certain individuals that aren't a part of the Essendon Football Club, people's names that I had never heard of before or met. And I was asked, did I know them? Had I had any association with them? And that sort of really shocked me and surprised me. And certainly just the whole, the intensity of the investigation was quite serious. And I said, I really felt for the young players that are playing at the football club and really respect what they're doing at the moment. To be able to galvanise that group and play under the pressure that they would be under, it's quite remarkable.
So just to set that up, Steve, that was during the week you went back in front of ASADA on Tuesday or Wednesday for 4 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that long, but it was a long meeting and a lot of questions, and a lot of questions I couldn't answer because I simply didn't know, and they have to do it. And the great thing was too, they were very upfront about making sure that we felt comfortable. All you could do was tell the truth, and I felt comfortable in that. It was got quite serious at times, but that's what I expected, and certainly got my point of view across and reflected my thoughts and my memory of what I think happened. And I come out of it probably with a few more questions, no doubt, but I never once got told that I received anything illegal. I never got told that.
Just interested in the blood samples, though. You inferred there that blood was taken and then taken somewhere else for testing, and the club was unaware of that. That seems a concern that would be happening.
Yeah, that was the one that really shocked me, and they asked me, obviously, where that blood had gone, and I just assumed a Melbourne pathology, and they couldn't really give me an answer where that gone, and that had concerns for me, and I was worried in that regard, because you assume when you get a test like that it just goes to your club doctor, but the way it was spoken about was that things may have been done without doctors, the official doctors of the footy club, and also coaches knowing.
So is there any inference there that it was maybe taken away to be tested to make sure the blood was under the legal level?
Who knows? I don't know. As I said, I don't think that I took anything illegal. I signed up for these any sort of supplement I signed up for was WADA approved, and I was given the document that I had signed, and it certainly said that. So that certainly gave me a lot of confidence, because all you're doing is trying to work off memory. And when I got given that, it gave me a lot of confidence that I'd read it through, and what I was given was WADA compliant, and I certainly viewed that, and I was happy about that. But there's a lot of things that I just couldn't answer, because a lot of people outside the club may have had an influence with people that are no longer at the club, and apart from Ian Robson, of course, but that had grave concerns for me.
Do you fear now for the footy club that what could happen once the ASADA investigation comes down? For now, what you know, maybe the players get off, but the club gets hit hard.
The governance side I worry about, because there was a lot of things that they brought up that I couldn't answer that surprised me, in terms of, one was where your blood went when you gave a blood test. You'd hope that the club knew that. The inference was that they didn't. So I worry from that side of it. I'm not fearful of the players being banned or out of the game, because there's no way that players would have agreed or signed up to something that was illegal. I can assure you of that. And
your own health going forward, do you have concerns as a guy heading into middle age that it could be down the track something might happen with what was taken?
No, well, I didn't get that indication. There was concerns when I first went in my own mind and my family's mind, that were we given something that I didn't know about, and that wasn't suggested. But I did have some questions around that, and what we've got to understand too is, if you are given a certain supplement, there are 3 or 4 different strands or tablets, if you like, of the same substance that could be illegal. The ones I signed up for and the players did, we were told they were legal, and we certainly, what I signed for shows that. but the way it was portrayed to me was there are 3 or 4 different ones that you can have that could be illegal.
You can understand why it's taking a while anyway. Everything that you signed said that you were taking legal supplements.
Yep.
ASADA and WADA.
WADA compliant, yep.
Everything continues on at the Football Club Dyson. We don't know when this thing ends, but Steve-o, it's an ugly mess. St Kilda, as we move on and digress, are worried about the recruits, I hear.
Yeah, I suppose it's not an ugly mess for St Kilda as far as list management, but they have got their issues. And I spoke to Scott Waters in the lead up to the West Coast game. I asked him just about this black hole between 2006 and 2011. They didn't recruit well, and where they go to from here.
Oh, it's a challenge. I mean, we as a club are well aware of, you know, I guess what happened in that time from a recruiting point of view. I think one of the great things that the club's done is it now has a very strong recruiting department. Amit Baines, Tony Elshaw, doing a terrific job of bringing, you know, quality players into the club. So, you know, we need to fill that gap. There's no doubt about it. But you know, in the last 2 years, I think we've got or added a number of players on the list that are starting to build a foundation going forward.
So who's to blame? Is it the coach not playing the players, or is it the recruiting and who was brought into the club?
Oh, look, I'm not here to point the finger or apportion blame. I mean, different administrations and football departments, you know, they're actually doing nothing but the best thing by the footy club. Recruiting's a tough business, and it's not an exact science, and you don't always get it perfectly right. I think the best organisations, you know, they have performance in focus every day, but they also have an eye to the future. You know, there's great examples of the Hawthorns and Geelongs and Collingwoods that, you know, are still able to maintain an eye to premiership, but also continue to build and build for the future. So that's certainly the model that we're working towards.
You had a pretty good year last year. Probably stiff not to play finals. Did you see this coming, that it might be tougher year 2?
I think what we're all always aware of is that, you know, our recruiting over a 5-year period doesn't see a lot of players still at this football club. So at some point, you've got to replace that, or you've got to fill that. We started that last year. We're enjoying the struggle at the moment. We know it's tough. But you know, we've got a lot of optimism about the players we're bringing through.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it, where the Saints are at? I think they're half a chance today, actually, against West Coast, who are struggling. But some news, fresh news. Jamie Elliott, of course, a big game tomorrow. Has come off the track hammer early today for Collingwood. Might be a late withdrawal.
Okay.
Also at Essendon, list management. They've got some riches, Tim, and you'd be very happy with the tools there at Essendon at the moment. What you wouldn't be happy about is maybe Stewie Crameri. I know there's clubs sniffing around him, of course. There's only so much money to go around.
Stewie Crameri being poached, you mean?
Maybe poached by a club like, say, the Bulldogs as a key forward, who you maybe be able to get 400 to 500 somewhere else, Hammer, and to stay at Essendon's probably in the 300 range.
He won't be going anywhere, will he, Dyson?
Nah, Stewie's staying with us, I reckon.
The bullet's staying
put that to bed.
Yeah. I think he's an underrated player, though, Stewie, isn't he? And at the moment, probably a third tall at Essendon, but could be more of a marquee type player at another club.
He's not underrated at Essendon, is he?
No, he's a star, Stewie.
On last week. Tell me, Hall of Fame during the week?
Yeah, magnificent night, Hall of Fame, stolen by Rick Davies from the Samford. And it's great. Sometimes we're a bit dubious about some of these Samford players getting in, but he stole the show. Hammer was fantastic, and it was great to see Scotty West get in 7 best and fairest, and probably stiff not to win a Brownlow.
I'll tell you what I was interested in. Other than the Jumbo Prince's speech, which apparently was 11 out of 10 and simply outstanding, the PM's taking selfies with Scotty West. It's not often. When you become a Hall of Famer, I suppose that's what happens.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the bell went off midway through one of the speeches. All the parliamentarians had to get back in and back into the chamber to vote. So, bizarre place, Canberra, and a great night.
Fireworks and videos in Canberra. Thank you, Steve-o. That was a sort of heavy segment, not our go normally on game day. Danaher's next, all playing together. We speak a bit more about Joey Danaher. Stay with us.
He's able to get round and he struts the tackle. Great play, Longmire. Has he missed? No, he's kicked it. Goal number 4. Anthony Danaher, what a good mark.
Used his body well initially. Still New South Wales with a chance. Neil Danaher from centre half forward with a very good kick. It'll be a goal. It's It's there.
Goes for the short pass into the pocket. It's effective. Longmire plays on. Confidence, if you don't mind. He's kicked his 7th.
That's a very good kick. It was never, ever going to miss the target, Carey.
It comes up. It's Terry Danaher. Runs into an open goal. New South Wales in front.
And there it is. They've done it against the odds. And New South Wales celebrates.
New South Wales beating the Big V in 1990. 4 Danaher brothers played and Horst Longmire kicked 8. And Wayne Carey's hair was resplendent. That was a mullet to end all mullets.
That was all go, wasn't it?
State of Origin footy. You would have watched a bit of it growing up?
I can't remember watching any of it, but I would have, I could imagine.
If they played once every 4 years, would you put your hand up to play?
I reckon State of Origin would be awesome, I reckon, yeah.
Jimmy?
I think every 2 years would be better. I don't think 4 years. I think 4 years is too long. I reckon every 2 years is fine, and we could maybe schedule it at the start of the year based on the previous year's form. So part of that NAB Cup section.
Did you love it, Tim?
Yeah, I love playing. Yeah, no question about that. I guess it just gets back to the players wanting to play it, and then the coaches and football clubs actually supporting it 100%.
It's changed so much, hasn't it?
It has. Well, the advent of the national competition changed it, yeah.
Time for quick hands. We've got 2 minutes to get through the rest of the show. Dyson, what did you do last? Have a haircut or wash your hair?
Oh dear, I think the only time I wash my hair is when I go and get a haircut, so probably cut the hair.
Yeah. How long ago are we thinking?
Oh dear, be probably a year.
I saw something crawl out of there before.
Go on. Hep, I've been to your house, and let's be honest, do you still have a red and black doona on your bed? You've got a red and black doona on your bed.
No, not the one I'm living in at the moment, but I did have one back up.
How was your 21st a couple of weeks ago? What did you get up to?
I get up to had a bit of a shindig at my place in Essendon, so had a few mates from back home and a few boys from the club around, which was good. Yeah.
Hey Dyson, we all know there's blokes at teams who just don't listen in meetings. Who at Essendon wouldn't know the game plan?
Well, I sit next to Stewie Cramery. You see Stewie, and we'll be going through our vision and edits and whatnot, and Stewie's just peering around, having a look at what the other boys are doing, and then they'll throw him a question and he'll nail it, or he'll end up saying something the boys will just laugh at him. So, but I think Stewie's a good man, but I don't know if he knows it to the T, but he's all right.
Quickly, let's have a look at what's happening for the rest of the weekend. Remember, it's the Queen's birthday clash tomorrow, and it is Eagles and the Saints this afternoon for our WA viewers. 30 seconds. Who, right now, in your view, halfway through the season, is the best team in the competition?
Oh, quick, probably, I think Sydney, yeah. Just playing them the other week, just their contested footy and the style of game that they play really holds up in finals. So I think, for me, yeah, they're the favourites.
Well played Friday night. Good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks, Shane.
Dyson Heppel, always nice to have Dyson on Spike. Thanks for being a part of it.
Good to see you, mate.
Jimmy, good luck for the rest of the year. Tim, well played. We'll see you next Sunday at 10 a.m. Hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.